Well, hello there, Vlad here. Welcome to my studio and welcome to another episode of How I Mixed It, a series where I break down the mixes and the production I've done on different songs over the years so you can steal all of my ideas and use them in your mix as well. Simple as that. And before we move on forward, if you want to have your own studio and record your own music, check out my free home studio essentials course by following the link below in the description. And even if you already have some sort of studio going on, there's a bunch of useful tips and tricks that can make it even better. Again, links below in the description. Now to the mix. And the song we're breaking down today is a cover song by Emma Salakoski called Veden alle. Alla, I never remember how the last word of that is. And we did this cover song, I think 3 years ago already with my sister Maria. And here's how our cover version sounds.
Sä saat mun salaisen voiman nyt heräämään. Enää en tahdo piiloon mä juosta, en aina takertua. Päästän irti nyt, aion kadata. Kuuletko mun veden alla mä huudan ääneen sen ihanan, vapauttavan, janottavan, kiperän, pelottavan, uuden.
Let's jump to the logic side of things, and right away I have to mention that I had to remix this song a little bit because some of the plugins I used on the original mix on the 2018 version just don't work on my M1 Max anymore, and basically I had to get rid of some of the plugins and replace them with other ones, and I just used that opportunity to kind of slightly remix the whole thing. But I think what's even more interesting is the production stuff I did here. So let's first take a quick overview of what kind of tracks we have here. There's a drum section, but it only happens at the very end of the song. Otherwise, there's no percussion going on. There's a bass guitar that again comes in, I think, at a second verse. So before that, there's not even that. There's two acoustic guitars over here. Then there's a lead electric guitar. And then there's two different kind of pianos going on through the whole song pretty much. There's actually like a third piano coming in here as well. So let's take a listen at the intro first and we'll break it down from there. Okay, before Maria's vocals kick in, first of all, there's an acoustic guitar going on. I think this is the finger picking one. And by the way, I had to tune the guitar to E flat because that was the best key for Maria to sing in. So So that's me finger picking, and I'm pretty sure I recorded my Taylor 110E that's on the background over there in the guitar rack. I think I recorded that with just the Rode NTG2 at the 12th fret from a distance of like, I don't know, 10-20 centimeters, like feet maybe. I don't remember how your measurements go, but yeah, I think this sounds really good and there's not that much processing going on. And this track actually runs through the whole song till the very end as well. To me, this is a very nice sounding acoustic guitar. I wanted to check if I have anything that's special going on. Nope, there's this just a channel EQ. I think this is a like default preset in Logic, acoustic guitar, and then there's 2 different compressors. And the idea of stacking 2 compressors is that the first compressor is catching some of the peaks, and then there's another compressor after that that is catching more peaks, and this allows me to keep the threshold pretty low, so we're taking down just few dB from both of the compressors. Let me adjust them like this, hit play. Let's jump here. You can see especially the ladder compressor, it's just taking down few dB. This helps to create even sounding acoustic guitar without it sounding like completely smashed. And I'm pretty sure I used the same thing on the second guitar as well, but it actually kicks in a bit later, so we're going to do that a bit later. I'm sending this acoustic guitar to 2 buses, which are, first of all, there was a bus number 3 and 4. So bus number 3 is a master reverb. It's a lot of reverb that way, but we can actually hear them. And the second one, this second bus output is a parallel compression where I'm sending all the vocals, all the guitars and stuff like that. So it just levels out everything. We can hear them both. If I take them out, now that's just the guitar and the 2 compressors. Again, parallel compression is leveling it out even a bit more. So that's nice. Let's jump to the lead guitar track. There's actually like a thing going on with a piano and lead, they're playing the same thing. I'm pretty sure I took this production idea from the original song. I think they do like an electric guitar plus a lead piano type of thing, and the lead piano goes on when the vocals kick in, but the lead guitar is muted. And then there's a third track, which is just this almost Lord of the Rings style pad. You have a lot of those, like I think when Gandalf was about to drop into the pit with that fiery monster Balrog, I think there's this kind of music. Ooh. Yeah, that type of thing, and it gives nice ambience to the track, but it's in the background, so you don't really notice it until you take it out. And all this together and notice how my fingerpicking pattern on the acoustic guitar on this track is kind of matching the hits on the lead instrument, so the piano and the lead guitar. And yeah, as the song progresses, we jump into the lead vocals.
Joo, mä tiedän, on veden pinta kaukana, en näe pohjaan, en näe, onko sen alla haukia tai
If you've watched my channel before and seen Maria featured in some videos, she's a fantastic singer, and there's not that much going on the track itself. There's a de-esser plugin going on. I'm taking out some of the S's. Then there's Ozone 9 by iZotope, which is just, I was using this vintage vocal preset. There's a little bit of EQ. There's the dynamic EQ going on. Basically, this reacts to different things. Like if there's a huge bump somewhere, it will like bring it up or bring it down. There's a compressor going on and a vintage tape. Let me demonstrate what happens if I take this out.
tai haita, jotka mut voi kerralla hotkaista mut. Sä näet pintaakin syvemmälle sä.
The thing is with good singers, you don't actually need to compress their vocals that much, and that's exactly what happened here. Like It's compressing a little bit, leveling it out nicely, but not that much. And speaking of leveling, I have gone and like done some small automation in different phrases. So there's like roughly 2 decibel changes here and there. And this is something you probably want to do even before you start compressing, because this usually makes a gigantic difference, and a bigger difference than you slamming the vocals to make them sound even with a compressor. This works so much better. I talked about this in other videos as well. Automate the vocal levels. It will make them sound way more even than you slamming a bunch of compressors in a row. Just saying. Then I'm sending this same track to the master reverb and the parallel compression we saw earlier. Then there's a bunch of other inputs as well. There's a vocal delay bus. I'm sending it to, if I hear, let's jump here.
Joo, mä tiedän on veden pintakaupunki.
So I'm sending it also to a vocal delay and a vocal reverb. And in vocal delay, I'm using a wave delay preset from Valhalla or Valhalla Supermassive. I featured this plugin a lot. It's a completely free thing. I'm going to put a link below in the description. Amazing plugin. Can't believe they're giving this out for free. It's so good. And just stock Logic vocal hole preset for reverb.
Kaukana en näe, pohjaan en näe, onko sen alla hauki?
Oh, and there's one more. I'm also sending that same vocal into a vocal spread thing. Basically, I'm taking this Chris Lord Algae plugin and disabling all the EQs and compressions, and all the things I'm using it is to make the vocal sound wider. And yeah, let's check it out with and without, and you'll notice what it does.
Mut voi kerralla hotkaista mut, sä näet pintaakin syvemmälle, sä viet mukaan, saat minut uskaltamaan.
It's pretty subtle, but I'm sending a bunch of other vocals here as well, and there's like double and triple tracking in some of the parts as well. So the effect becomes even stronger, but it's like stacking up little details here and there, and like with all of these delays, there's a little bit of movement in the background, and everything just sounds interesting without you needing to have like hundreds and hundreds of tracks. There's actually pretty conservative track-wise. There's only like 32, and like 20 of those tracks are just groove vocals by me, or like, well, I don't know, at least like 10 to 15. So I don't think this is like a completely overblown with tracks-wise. But yeah, that's vocals. There's a second acoustic guitar kicking in. Just to give it a little bit of rhythm. And I have kind of similar type of processing here. Again, 2 stacked compressors to catch the peaks and level it. But that's it. Slightly different EQ. Again, I think I used like a preset from Logic and tweaked from there. So yeah, be sure to use those presets. They usually give you like a really good starting point.
Uskaltamaan sunkaan niin vaarallisesti en oo koskaan mä sukeltaan.
Yep, and then I guess this is a bridge. We go to the bridge and
Sukeltanut veden pintaa, keihään lailla.
well, first of all, there's a new piano thing kicking in. This is a very, I want to say 80s sounding thing. I think it's like a preset from Logic, some sort of 80s piano or something. Simple as that, like stock instruments that you get with Logic. Nothing too fancy. And I think the biggest thing I'm doing here is double tracking the lead vocals now.
Veden pinta, keihään lailla halkoo, hahmosi jäntevää.
The second vocal is just like, there's a little bit of it there. If I take it out completely,
Veden pinta keihään lailla.
Because it is a bridge, double tracking that vocal adds a little bit of build up to the track, and from there we go to the first, I guess you could call it chorus, though it's not really a chorus, but you could call it chorus.
Alko hahmosi jäntevä, sulava.
Okay, there's a lot to break down. First of all, let's stick with vocals. There's two of me doubling those phrases. Thanks, delays. Yeah, so all the vocals together.
Sulava, varma, vahva.
And these vocals are hard penned left and right. Again, just gives the bridge or chorus section a bit more, well, makes it interesting, and there's stuff happening. Then there's a bass guitar that comes in as well. And paired with the electric lead. And I really like this picking pattern on the lead guitar because it kind of adds tension. That, like, the note choices I decided to have here, like, they just add this kind of tension, and then we stop for the second verse after that. So we build up the tension, but then we actually stop and go back a little bit, and I like that a lot. And the bass is basically playing this lead thing between these vocal lines over here. I'm pointing my finger at it. It doesn't work like that. You can't see it. But yeah.
Sulava,
That's the bass.
varma,
Again bass.
vahva, vakuuttava, vaikuttava.
And as you might have heard, there's also two rhythm guitar electric tracks. And these chords are actually, well, when the song goes to the end and there's like a big finale type of things, these are the same chords. So we're kind of introducing the build up to the last thing, and these kind of muted, palm muted guitars again add to the build up feeling of it.
Vakuuttava, vaikuttava. Niin sä viet
Yeah, this is where we kind of go back to that maybe slightly happier mood. There's like a danger feeling here, and I'm kind of copying the feeling from the original song, but I'm just using different elements than in that song to build up that tension. And then there's a release when we go to the second verse, which is fairly similar to the first one, except now there's bass going on as well.
Niin sä viet varmalla otteellasi aina vaan kauemmas rannan turvasta, ja mua huimaa ja pelottaa, mut siinä sun äänes mua rauhoittaa. Sä saat mun salaisen voiman nyt heräämään. Enää en tahdo piiloon mä juosta, en aina takertua, päästän irti.
So the second verse is fairly similar besides the bass. There's a bit more elements going on, so we're building up to the next part.
Päästän irti nyt, aion karata. Kuuletko mun veden alla?
Okay, so here with the vocals, there's a bit more happening already because I'm actually triple tracking them. So there's Maria's vocals in the middle. Let me browse here and I'll loop this just for the sake of it.
Kuuletko
you can see, there's again automation happening. See this slider moving up and down. I'm just making sure the vocal is even, and I'm not doing that with compressors, I'm doing it with automation.
Kuuletko, kun
And then there's two vocals doubling that same phrase on the left and right to again build it up. It sounds bigger than the previous versions.
Kuuletko, kun veden alla mä huudan. Kuuletko, kun veden alla mä.
The two other vocals are like fairly quiet and they're hard panned left and right, but they do add a little bit of that feeling like, oh, something's happening, like this is louder and this is kind of wider and stuff like that, even though you still kind of perceive the lead vocal in the middle. A very, very classic production thing. And let's take the loop off and move forward. Here again we got rid of the lead piano and we have this 80s piano. And then we jump to the big build up and there's a bunch of vocals that will be introduced. So this is kind of similar thing as the previous chorus, but now the drums kick in, for example. Yeah, so Maria's phrases are triple tracked and there's also my vocals. So if you listen to all of them together.
Ihanan, vapauttavan, janottavan.
Yeah, for drums I'm using just the Easy Drummer. Yeah, there's a just stock Easy Drummer 2. There's a tape drive presence drum. Really cool sounding drum kit that I used here, and I'm not even processing it that much. I'm sending it to master reverb and then I'm doing parallel compression to that drum with iZotope Ozone 9. I'm just using a vintage drum preset that I then further tweaked. Simple as that, really. And yeah, there's just a snare build up for a long time. Let's see. Yeah, I programmed it in a way where it actually doesn't get that much louder. Well, slightly louder. And then there's a fill. I really like this drum preset. It sounds really good. And yeah, when we go to the ambient part over here, let's check out the rhythm section here. So I guess that's called the synths rhythm section as well. Just those. Let's break down the elements. You could hear the bass. Picking acoustic, strumming. Those are fairly in the background, but they're still there. Two electric guitars. Then there's this picking electric guitar. And as you could hear in this section, like the electric guitars kind of, I'm playing more softly on the electrics, and when it goes to the biggest part, then the electrics kind of play a bit louder. So you can hear me like really digging in and playing it a bit more loudly. And yeah, the overall part, I think the biggest thing comes from the instruments, like there's still the same amount of vocals and everything going on. And obviously drums switch to the crash as well, so that's a big thing. There's a single Maria vocal going on here. Yeah, vocals, best way to create some ambience. Why am I always opening up this stock thing? I don't do stocks, it just likes to open up all the time. But if you want some ambience, just do a bunch of vocal tracks, put them through a big reverb. Really good, and it's a lot of fun to do those. And yeah, this is just a big epic ending. And notice how you don't need that many elements to, like, we go big and then we go even bigger with just the electric guitars playing a little bit louder and the drums switching to like crash hits, and it makes all the difference. It sounds big, because we want to maintain the intensity. We're actually repeating the big part twice before the song ends. Yeah, that wraps up the song. This is probably one of my first projects where I actually kind of had an idea what I'm doing. Usually my mixes before this were like, hey, let's try this and this and this. Why isn't it working? Well, let's add some compression and distortion and tape saturation on it and it will be fine. This was probably my first project where I felt like I really knew what I was doing, and I think we got amazing results. The cover has gotten a bunch of views from like people all over the world, even though it's a song in Finnish. I still get comments on that like, hey, this was very beautiful and stuff like that. So yeah, really proud of this one, and it stood through the years, unlike most of my mixes from that time or earlier. So yeah, hopefully this gave you some ideas on production, on mixing as well. To me, this still feels fairly simple, just a bunch of vocal tracks, and that usually makes a difference. And remember to automate those vocals as well, instead of compressing them and you're off to the races or something like that. If you want to see more of how I mixed it episodes, there's a playlist in the cards and in the description below. And again, highly recommend you check out the Home Studio Essentials course. It can make a giant difference in your home studio setup if you are starting out or want to improve the current one you have already. And if you're new to the channel but you made it to the end of this video, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell as well. And for the hardcore fans, there's links to merch, Thomann store, stuff like that. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time.